Hey everybody, it's Jason Blah here. You guys know what time it is. Time for current events in the online fitness community. And today, we'll give you guys some more social commentary because a number of people have linked me the newest collab out of Canada. And that involves OmarIsuf, the Bruce Lee of YouTube fitness, and Alexander Leonidas, aka AlphaDestiny, aka Strap-on Destiny, aka Grimly the Dwarf, doing an arms workout together. So let me go ahead and put on my +5 How to Speechcraft. Let's talk about it. What's interesting here is we see the dynamic when you look at these last couple collabs. You just saw AlphaDestiny collab with Jeff Nippard, right? It's a few days before. Then OmarIsuf. And you notice a distinct difference in the training style and the tone. And what people need to note here is that you guys notice that essentially you always have, when people work out together, you have a leader and a follower, right? And that's just one of the dynamics you always notice. Like I'll be honest with you guys, if I were to ever to collab with someone, I'm not doing their workout. Okay? If I were to ever collab with another fitness person, they're going to do my shit. If it's my speed bench day, we're going to speed bench. I really don't give a shit. That's one reason, I don't think anybody would ever want to collab with me on a real workout. Because I'd be like, I'm not messing up my routine to accommodate you, right? We're going to do something together. We're going to do it on my schedule. We're going to do it at my pace. And if you don't like it, you can hit the fucking road. But that's just different people's attitudes. That's just my personality. That's my attitude. It's not a good or a bad thing. It just doesn't say anything about good or bad about the person. I just don't want people telling me what. In fact, I don't even want people to coach me. I don't listen to any of your advice. Like if you guys aren't benching 450 pause in a video, you're not squatting 650, 700 pounds without reps, or you're not coaching people who are, I just ignore your commentary. I'm just really not interested. I'm not going to take training advice from you. I'm not even going to take training criticism on my form. I'm just not, because I'm not interested. So the point we come over to with the training, we all have our own way of doing that. And you guys notice he follows the tone of whoever's there. Like he's basically the follower. And that's normal. When people train together, there's always a leader and a follower, or one leader out of a group of guys, and everyone else kind of follows their lead. And he just follows the lead of the other people. And I've noticed a stark contrast there, because when he was with Jeff Nippard, it was all about ego lifting, right? It was all about ego lifting. Hey, let's just count benches that don't even count. Like they were just counting red lights as max benches, like multiple failed lifts as, hey, I got this lift. No, you didn't. Those were no lifts. Both of them counted lifts that didn't count. Then they went over and it was all just heavy stuff. Then they went over and did the silly ass rack pulls, and it was all ego. Because let's be honest here, as every single expert says, the rack pull, the above the knee rack pull, is nothing more than an ego lift. It has no real beneficial training effect. Stupidest exercise ever invented. It's purely an ego lift. Literally serves no other purpose. Then he gets over with Omar, and all he kept talking about is, well, you got to check your ego. And I'm like, Omar does an ego lift. And it was like, really, the thing that was surprising to me was he literally brought up the fact that Omar was using for his rep work 310 instead of 315. He could have just gone for 315, but he's checking his ego. And it's like, no, that's just programming. Like everyone does that, right? And this makes me wonder, what are we dealing with his level of programming experience at this point? The fact that needed to be pointed out, it's like, well, look, if your program calls for a set percentage, and that set percentage requires you to micro-load and put microplates on for 312 and a half instead of 315, do you just go to the 315? Well, I would hope not. That's not even about setting ego aside. That's just about following your training program, right? It's about your training programming. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? That's what we all do. Those of us who are experienced lifters. That's nothing to do with setting ego to the side. That's about following your percentages and the structure of your program and your progression. I thought that was rather bizarre that he felt the need to bring that up. And it's always something I respect. It's like, you're respecting what's normal everyday training that every serious lifter does in the entire goddamn planet. That's just normal. Like that's just training. That's normal. Like I would hope most people who have been training more than a year realize that you follow set numbers on your stuff and you micro load and Just because you might be close enough to using 315 for that doesn't mean you use 315 if you know that your program requires 310 or 312 and a half. I thought it was just this interesting perspective. And I think it kind of comes back to my point of one of my bigger criticisms of him is that he doesn't really have the long-term practical experience to really be selling ebooks and giving training advice. And I mean, that's a perfect example. But at least the upside is that he was following Omar's lead and at least setting aside the ego lifting. And I almost have to wonder if at a certain point in this collab, if he brought up above the knee rack pulls, because he just did them on his last one, right? I have to wonder if he sat down with Omar and said, hey, we should throw in some above the knee rack pulls, right, bro? And then Omar just said, no, man. First of all, if we do, Blaha's going to rip my ass publicly. And I don't need that. It's like, number two, you do know they're stupid, right? I can see it going down this way. And I can almost see, because of the ego comments all in his voiceover, I have to wonder if Omar sat down. Because we never see him say that. Omar probably sat him down and said, look, bro, you've got to set aside the stupid-ass ego lifting. You need to have some longevity in your training. This is the only way you're going to make it. You know, you're going to be plagued with injuries. You have to set the ego aside. It's about proper lifting. And it sounds like, based upon what I heard in there, I almost guarantee you that conversation took place. Guarantee you that conversation took place. But what I was trying to understand, though, is that they called this an arms workout, and then they benched first, and I would agree, benching is good for your triceps. And then it was all just this fluff and pump arm work. And I'm not saying that higher reps and fluff and pump arm work doesn't have its place. I mean, I do right now. All right, you guys go watch both of my bench press days, because I have 2 bench days every week. I do curls, and I do skull crushers, right? I'm doing tricep extensions. I am doing extensions and curls on my bench press day. So I don't want people to think that I'm knocking that, but I am wondering why they felt the need as lifters, not bodybuilders who just do random stuff, why they felt the need to do so many small exercises. And that's the thing that puzzled me. It's like, if you're going to do other forms of curls, I mean, a curl is a curl, guys. I mean, I would hope people understand that. Curl is a secondary movement. You're going to have bigger exercises that stimulate your biceps. You do curls for additional stimulus or an additional training effect, or maybe because you need a stretch reflex, so you do an incline curl, or you do a strict curl. You add curls, obviously, to train your biceps. But you're doing 5 sets of 20 on a cable curl. That's pretty much your training effect. Why are you going to do multiple types of curls in the same workout? I don't get it. I don't understand it. The same thing, we come over to extensions. Okay, you've done bench pressing. Not like it's your first bench press session or tricep session of the week. He had just done bench press and weighted dips and all that with Jeff Nippard. Okay? Triceps are getting pretty well beat up, so you come in and you want to do some extra tricep work, that's fine. If you feel that you need to do some extensions, to get the training volume you need for your triceps, that's fine. Come in and do them. Why do you need to do multiple types? Why do you need to do multiple types? And in fact, we start looking in terms of total training volume. There's more and more data on this emerging on training volume that, in terms of legitimate work sets, and again, look at the newest studies coming out, that it does seem to be that in a single session, more than about 10 serious working sets for a muscle group doesn't even seem to help muscle growth and may even inhibit it when you're not on drugs. And that's one reason we talk about higher frequency training. And I'm not telling people not to do 20 sets. Look, if you have 2 bench press and 2 tricep sessions every week, you're going to be able to get 20 sets in, right? You can do 20 sets for your triceps, because a lot of it's going to be your benching. And a lot of experts who look at this do feel that something like benching or your closed grip or your incline bench or any of these things, that they are essentially half sets for a tricep. Meaning, because it's a very close secondary primary mover, it might not be the same thing as a full normal direct exercise in terms of training volume, so you might count it as 5. But then you can throw in 5 or 6 sets of extensions and pretty much reach your maximum training effect that you're going to get out of a single session. And that's totally reasonable. You can do that. And it works within training volume. And that's fine. You just add more sessions per week. Because we get over to where you're benching twice a week, and then you're doing some extra tricep work, you can hit that maximum effective dose of training out of those 2 sessions twice in a week and make fantastic gains. But, there's a certain threshold to where you're looking at it going, why are you needing this much extra volume? If you are truly a drug-free lifter, as you claim, and you start looking at the amount of supporting evidence there, you probably don't need to be doing 10 or 15 small exercises behind a heavy bench session for those given muscles. Come in and do your 5. 5 good work sets of a well-selected, smaller exercise that targets the aspects of that muscle that you want to work can be very effective. And if they're quality sets, you're good. That's all you need. You shouldn't necessarily need to do multiple types. And because the difference here is that this is no longer bro arm days. You're not doing that. If you're benching multiple times a week and you're doing tricep work behind it, for example, that's no longer bro training. You already have a high frequency. You're just there trying to add some additional volume. So again, I'm going to be critical of that. I don't understand what the point was of all the additional fluff and pump. And he's been complaining that his arms haven't been growing since he's been doing it this way. Well, maybe you're not looking at total training volume, maximum recoverable volume, balancing it with frequency, getting your training programming on point. And I'm not even against people utilizing some curls and tricep extensions for this. I'm not. I do them myself. But you have to understand things like total volume, minimum effective volume, maximum recoverable volume, and understand how it differs between drug-free lifters versus enhanced lifters. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.